Gemini 15, two Dutch children talking. Good Gemini image, isn't it? Two talking. And the attention here is brought to the facility that we have for using words as a medium of communication. Something perhaps we take for granted. We shouldn't. Words are primary, of tremendous importance. Exactly what you say, to whom you say it, how you deliver that message. These are so important and yet trivialized in today's hurried world. And if we focus on what a word is, it's a sound formula. It comes out of the depth of our being, and it carries tone, it carries meaning. Usually it carries some ambiguity, some colourful metaphor. It's not a mathematical symbol that points to an exact meaning. That's not what it is. And the way we use a particular word shapes our concept, our sense of the meaning within that word, to the point where we can't actually develop meaning, we can't develop understanding unless we've got the label for it. Until you name something, it's not formed. It's a vague, ill-defined, amorphous energy field until something is crystallized into shape. And the first way in which we shape this energy field in which we live is to give it vibration, is to introduce a sound so energy vibrates into its own shape. And we do this with the word. In the beginning is the word. That's what that metaphorically means, is that there's this blob of electrical energy that's got no shape or anything to it. And then a vibration takes that blob of energy into something. It then exists as something definable. And this didn't begin with the Big Bang and then stop. This is the reality that we live with moment by moment. We create our realities moment by moment from how we structure mind. And we structure mind by words. This is not much understood. Wittgenstein introduced this idea, I think, to general consciousness anyway, when he pointed out that it is by the languaging that we use that we shape the thinking that we have. It's not the other way around. We don't think a thought clearly and then present it to the world. That's not what works. If you're a writer or a speaker, you'll know this, that what actually comes out of your pen, comes out of your mouth, is delivered by an agency, some kind of inspired non-corporeal being takes over to some extent. We don't govern our communication stream. We are, to some significant extent, governed by it. So we have to understand that the way we speak, what we say, the tone to whom we say it, these things, these shape our self-identity, and therefore everything. So how we speak is how we live. Now here we have two Dutch children talking. So they're children, they're Dutch, in other words, they're not American, presumably, and they're talking in the Dutch language. They're communicating in such a way that they're remembering childhood experiences because of their own native language being used, because they're children, because they're foreign. They're moving away from the collective babel, the noise of all these people speaking silly, meaningless nonsense all the time. That's the way that we live today. People talk rubbish and lies all of the time. That's the background environment in which we place our oh so sensitive minds. It's dangerous, and it creates outcomes that we really don't want, things like anxiety and confusion and fear. All of these things are a direct result of how we think, which comes from how we speak. So when the Dutch children are talking to each other, they're moving into this more innocent, more relaxed, more authentic, more familiar way of being, because they're talking in a familiar way. So a part of the teaching of this degree is for us to understand the importance of the word and to choose our words very carefully indeed. Don't ever allow anything to come out of your mouth that you don't want to see in the world. And most of us speak of horrible things that are going on in a different part of reality. And by doing that, we make it more likely that we're going to attract those things into our lives. And today, because of COVID, people seem to have permission to create images of conspiracy theories that are really dark and horrible. And they have the right, it seems now, to speak them. And I tell them to stop speaking to me about such things. I just don't want it in my head. They're images of the horrible things that happen, and I stop them speaking. And as I've said before, if I notice myself thinking something I don't want to have happen, I'll say a prayer, and I'll clean up my thinking by cleaning up my speaking. And then we take it into normal everyday language, and for a period of time I trained myself never to use the word but, because it's stopping myself. But, butting your head. These kind of wordplay things are important and powerful. And I trained myself not to use the word why, because why, when you're asking somebody a question, why is never the best question to ask. It doesn't get the right answer. It's ambiguous and slightly aggressive. Actually, very aggressive. Why did you do that? How, what, where, who, these are helpful, but why usually creates more of a problem than a solution. So I've trained myself to speak differently. To do so, you need to slow down a little bit. You can't necessarily choose the right words if you don't think about them carefully. And I've actually developed a different speaking style where I sometimes wait for a while until the word I want pops into my head. Rather than speak fluently the wrong words, I'll interrupt my thinking process to choose the right word. And it's made a difference to my life. It follows from this that we can't actually find who we are unless we find the words to express that. So once again, I say we don't know who we are and speak of it. We don't know the reality and speak of it in that order. We do it the other way around. So until somebody actually says the right combination of words that we think, oh yeah, that resonates with me, and we borrow those words and we actually copy somebody else's words because it feels right for us. Until we do that, we can't claim that particular facet of our identity. This is why guides are so very important in spiritual development. They've gone a little bit earlier than us along this well-trod path of spiritual seeking, and they've learned the vocabulary that goes hand in hand with that. So they can speak of wisdoms and understandings and techniques that we have yet to learn. And when we speak these, we come to learn them. So, for example, mantra, if you speak a mantra, then all of the accumulated wisdom over 1,000 years associated with that mantra is just hovering around your being, and you're bound to pick quite a bit up from that by osmosis, as it were. It's the same with explanations of concepts. Like I use the concept maybe means no. So in any situation you have to say yes or no to it. And those are the two answers that you want. But then there's a third, isn't there? Like, well, I'm not sure. Maybe, maybe not, maybe. So yes, no, maybe. I always understand that maybe means no. So I've got these little tricks in my mind. And instead of now saying maybe, I'll say no, because that's what maybe means. And everything comes to me, I can say yes or no. Because if it's not yes, then it must be no. And I've trained myself to be different because I think different, because I use different words. And this is what we're discussing in this degree, how to train yourself to be more at ease in any situation. And thus can you find what gives you an ease of beingness, an ease of character, an ease of personality. This sense of ease is important. The Dutch children are very easy with each other. They've got an easy rapport, an accurate sense of each other's meanings. When they say something, it's really clear what they mean, because they share a commonality of experience, which would not be shared with somebody of a different nationality or even a different age. And we see this in today's world really clearly, where parents and teenagers just can't talk to each other. They talk different languages, quite literally. It's not figurative. They have a different language system. The teenagers collectively create a different way of speaking in order to move away from parental control. Because if you're actually all speaking in the same way, then the people who've got mastery of that language are in control of the situation. And parents speak adult languages, and teenagers have to find their own teenage language to take back control from their parents. And this whole idea of having an easy familiarity with your mother tongue and your perhaps your jargon as well. Each of our professions and occupations has with it associated a language. And if you're familiar with that language, then you're familiar with the knowledge that goes along with that. And you become conversant towards all the other people studying that language. You know, those of us that have learned astrological glyphs and labels and so on, we tend to encapsulate meaning within a very short phrase. He's got a sun square Pluto. Wow. You know, we speak like that to each other as astrologers, and there's an easiness, a relaxed way of communicating something very quickly, and hopefully we both understand the meaning of the word Pluto and the meaning of the word square, although I have to say I'm a bit doubtful sometimes. Whole idea here then is to find a language that really identifies you in an easy way, and speak that language and nothing else. Be very careful what you allow to come out of your mouth. It's much more a determination of your future than what goes into your mouth.